Video showing the moments the 21-year-old was captured in New Orleans East after being on the run for 4 days.
This is one of those situations where I would say was an absolute benefit. The coordinated efforts between the state and of course the city.
Price is now the 4th inmate found after escaping from the Orleans Justice Center Friday. Multiple escapees still remain at large as hundreds of law enforcement personnel continue to search the area.
You could see, 5, maybe 6.
The remaining escapees.
I anticipate that they're going to find them all over the city. It doesn't really, they go where their family is.
Alright, what's up with the YouTube fam? I'm back again with another video, right? So listen, a lot of y'all been hitting me up, especially my people out there that didn't know, man. I appreciate y'all for sending me what y'all been sending me and things like that. Y'all been asking me why I haven't did a video about this situation, and I'm gonna keep it real with y'all, bro. I hate doing updates back to back to back to back to back. There's so much other stuff in the world to be talking about just to be bringing one thing back to back to back. You feel what I'm saying? But basically, I knew that they were gonna get caught. Everybody, it's like one dude left. Man, they done called everybody, and then what really just made me go ahead and say something today was they done found out that one of the damn workers helped them do this right here, bro. Everybody had to been slobbering slow to do what they did. These fuckers even had the nerve to put on the damn wall. This was too easy. They finna make an example out of them. Now I can understand some of them for trying to break out because of the extent of their charges. Some of them had murder, second degree, and all the other type of different stuff. But some of them had charges that they could have just simply fought. Now you finna be going through all of this extra stuff that you didn't even have to go through. You know what I'm saying? But I got a couple of videos. I even got a damn press conference from when it all took place. So we're going to watch the press conference as well too. But look, I want to tell y'all, I appreciate y'all for being here. I hope that everything is okay with you and your family. And I wish y'all nothing but the best in every aspect of y'all's life. When I say that, I'm only talking to those who say it back to me in return. And to those who reciprocate the same energy back to me as well. But just not typing it out for whatever the reason may be. But yeah, other than that, I done said what I had to say. Make sure I add out my social medias, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, second and third, YouTube channel. Everything gonna be in the comment section if y'all want to add those. Or in the description box, I don't know. Anyway it go, if you're looking for me, you want to lock in outside of this YouTube, go down there, hit them links, or just type my name in and I'll pop up on multiple platforms. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into these updates. And like I said before, man, these dudes gotta be slobbering slow. These fuckers had until 8:30 the next morning to get somewhere, and they been getting caught every damn where. They going live. One of them got caught because they went live on the damn internet, man. He went live with his partners. Got to be crazy, bro. Let's get into this though. Let's go ahead and look at all the updates. And some of the stuff is from the past, some of the stuff is from now, but ultimately they have caught everybody except, I think, except for one person. So yeah, let's get into this.
That large tourist presence comes as we've learned that fourth inmate was captured in New Orleans East tonight.
That's right. WDSU reporter Jasmine Franklin is live tonight with more. And Jasmine, you spoke with people who witnessed this arrest. Tell us about it.
Yeah, tell us about it.
So, Regina, people who live in the area where the arrest happened say they were really just shocked and surprised to see the state police and SWAT teams right outside of their homes as 21-year-old Gary Price was taken back into custody.
Here wrong with Gary, slow as
hell. It was a little jarring to know that it was so close to home.
Romel Smith says he has lived on Good Drive in New Orleans East for 6 years. He was shocked to see a large police presence right outside his home Monday evening.
I literally just saw something outside my door. I was like, it was quiet when they came in, so I stepped outside and my neighbors across the street, they were out, and we was just like, what's going on?
Multiple law enforcement agencies assisting in taking inmate Gary Price back into custody. This video showing the moments the 21-year-old was captured in New Orleans East after being on the run for 4 days.
This is one of those situations where I would say was an absolute benefit. The coordinated efforts between the state and of course the city.
Price is now the 4th inmate found after escaping from the Orleans Justice Center Friday. Multiple escapees still remain at large as hundreds of law enforcement personnel continue to search the area.
You can see, 5, maybe 6 on the footage.
Dale Corcoran is manager at Bierman Precision, The tool shop sits along I-10 in the area where several inmates ran Friday morning.
Never in my farthest, dreams or nightmares would I have ever envisioned somebody running across the interstate from the prison like that. No.
He tells me employees are using extra caution, knowing some of the inmates escaped near his business.
It's just been, one of those things where you kind of have to just be more vigilant, and if you see something, say something.
And neighbors say they are confident police will find the remaining escapees.
Hell yeah, they confident because they slow as hell. Why would you get out of this jail and go to the same neighborhoods around the same people and everything, knowing you got murders and all this other type of stuff on your resume? I would be so far gone right now if that was me. I'm telling you, I will be gone so far. I'm telling you, you had all of these hours, man. All of these hours. And you could have got so many different places, but you want to choose to be there. But a lot of the times, man, people go back to these places because they ain't got no money, no resources and stuff like that. But you got to be slow. I'd rather go out here and be a bum than to just be walking around in the same locations where I just committed these murders and leaving and stuff like that. I even heard that some of the damn family members are in hiding right now just because they are wondering if they're looking for them. But, man, you better believe these people finna get the maximum the maximum extent of their charges. Trust what I'm telling you, bro. Watch what I tell you. If they were looking at 10, they looking at 25 because they can probably add another 10 or 15 just for escaping out of the damn jail. Then you laughed. That's another 10 or another 5 right there because you laughing at you playing in my face. That's the worst thing that you can do to somebody is play in their face. And that's exactly what they did. Let's get back into it, though.
I anticipate that they're going to find them all over the city. It doesn't really, they go where their family is.
Man, I would have to forget everybody.
And state police tell us hundreds of law enforcement personnel will continue working around the clock until they find the remaining escapees. Reporting live in New Orleans, Jasmine Franklin, WDSU News.
And 21-year-old Gary Price, he was captured on Prentice Avenue and Good Drive in New Orleans East. This is the second inmate to be captured in that area. So far, all 4 who were captured have been found in New Orleans within the city limits. And so far, these 6 inmates remain at large. Derek Groves, Jermaine Donald, Corey Boyd, Leo Tate, Lenton Van Buren, and Antoine Massey. If you have any information that can help police or help detectives, please visit WDSU.com or call Crime Stop.
So it's a jailbreak straight out of a movie. 7 inmates still on the run after escaping a jail in New Orleans. Surveillance video now showing 10 inmates right here running out of the jail on Friday after squeezing through a hole behind a toilet. Now we have this new surveillance video footage right here. Check this out. It shows, appears to show 2 of the prison escapees walking in New Orleans through the French Quarter in plain clothing with their heads down on Friday morning. One of the prisoners shown in the video was actually arrested shortly after this video was taken. The other inmate is seen on the footage. Well, he's still at large. Joining me now is our Faith Abube, who's in New Orleans, and she's been tracking this story. Faith.
Yeah, Kara, law enforcement agents are calling them a useful partner. This is a nonprofit, an independent agency apart from law enforcement, but they have been able to give law enforcement information in this investigation that has been valuable. In fact, it led to the arrest of one of the suspects. And we talked to the executive director who explained to us how this all happened. So as soon as they learned about the escaped inmates on Friday, they were able to put all the mugshots into their system. They have about 200 facial recognition cameras across the city, specifically in the business district, the entertainment district, including the French Quarter. They were able to quickly get a hit on 2 of the inmates. They saw them on camera. They were able to compare them to the mugshot and realize that, hey, we think we have 2 of these suspects. By the time law enforcement got there, though, they were able to arrest one of the suspects, but the other one got away, and that is due to timing. Officials here at the jail say that they did not know that the suspect escaped the jail until 7 hours after they had left the jail. And so by the time the facial recognition nonprofit learned about the escape, the information that they were able to gather had essentially already expired. Take a listen. Timing is everything in this manhunt.
Oh, timing meant a lot. Regrettably, we lost one of the murderers just by about 1 minute. If we would have received notifications even 1 minute earlier from the sheriff's office, we would have actually helped apprehend 2 subjects, not just 1.
And that's because you were tracking him right here on this camera?
Actually, yes, on this very camera right here. It went off, but if It went off as soon as we put him in.
And we do know that the jail is conducting an internal.
Hey, look, cuz they talk about an internal investigation, whatever the case may be, where they found this slow fucker today. But listen, man, they had one of the dudes on Facebook, I think, on Facebook Live. Y'all add me on Facebook too. Carlos King. Type me in and look me up if you want to lock in with me. But yeah, anyway, Cubs was laid out on a damn bus bench. I'm gonna see if I can find that video and add it right here. And if I don't add it right here, it's because I couldn't find it. Or I'm trying to hurry up and get this one done to move on to the next situation. But ultimately, this fucker was laying out at the damn bus stop. Cuz they recorded him and tried to wake him up and everything. And the boy just laid there, and his ass went to jail right after that, man. It's just crazy out here. You gotta be slobbering slow. I'm telling you, literally slobbering slow to be doing what you're doing. Man, you wouldn't have seen me no more. I probably would have chopped the finger off, cut my hair off. I would have been a whole. Well, you ain't got no hair no way in the pen. Well, they in a county jail though, I think. Yeah, so shit, I don't know, man. I would have been a different person. You wouldn't know who the hell I was. Hell nah. Really, I would have been gone. I would have been so far gone. But these fuckers right here, man, it was just meant for them to get caught and add on extra time to them sentences that they're about to get. And I don't have no sympathy for nobody out here crashing out, taking lives, or none of that type of shit. Now the drug charges, if you ain't selling no hard drugs, then I really don't feel like you should be going to jail. Weed and all that, man, I think all that shit should be legalized. If you ain't add no extra chemicals or selling no. Now if you out here selling that Reggie and giving headaches and harming folks, then yeah, you need to go to jail. Cuz with anything else, man, go ahead and do your thing. Real talk. But let's go ahead and get back into it. I just had to say that I remember Cubs laid out on the damn park. I said the park at the damn bus bench, looking crazy as hell, boy. That's so, man, bro, that's so crazy. Let's get back into it.
Investigation into the delays and, of course, how the suspect were able to get out in the first place. 3 employees have been placed on administrative leave amid that internal investigation. In the meantime, though, the governor is also calling this a failure. He wants a full audit of this facility here behind me where the inmates escaped on Friday. There are a lot of investigations that are going on right now trying to figure out exactly why this happened, how to prevent it in the future. In the meantime, though, we also talked to that police superintendent this afternoon who told us some of the latest details about this investigation. One of the biggest challenges they're facing right now is trying to stop family members and friends from helping these inmates. There have been situations, according to the superintendent of police, where they thought they had the inmates, they thought they were zoomed in on a house where the inmates could be hiding. They got inside only to find that the inmates were gone, and they believe that is because they were getting some assistance. So they're warning these people to stop helping them, or else they may face some serious consequences, including charges in this case. But they say they do have actionable intelligence on all 7 of them. They believe a majority of them are still hunkering down in the immediate area, but it's possible that many of them, or some of them, may be in other parishes or even nearby states, so they're looking into all of that. They are telling the public not to panic. They are taking this very seriously, but again, a lot of investigation and a lot of questions left on how this happened and how to prevent it again.
All right, Faith Abube there. Thank you so much.
Major update. A jail maintenance worker is under arrest in New Orleans, accused of being the man on the inside who helped 10 inmates escape. The worker allegedly turned off the water to allow the inmates to break over the hole and get to freedom. Now, on the outside, the search continues for several inmates. Another escaped New Orleans inmate is back in custody. This one's accused of attempted murder. And we have the moment his arrest was caught on camera. This image per WVUE on Instagram. He and several other inmates made a jailbreak that has been seen by millions on security camera footage from a jail in New Orleans. The majority of the men that you see running free are still on the run right now, including multiple accused of murder.
There is no way people can get out of this facility without there being some type of lapse in security.
Okay.
There's no way.
I'm going to say this right here. Somebody playing with that boy butt. I ain't going to lie to you now. That damn worker that did this, he had a little boo up in there, man. They in there throwing it across the room on each other. Something going on up in there, man. Real talk. Because ain't no way in the hell you finna persuade me to do nothing if you ain't going to persuade me to do nothing, no way. But you got to have some type of fling happening or something to be doing something like this and to continue. But I have this press conference at the end where she's basically stating ahead of time that they know somebody had to help them do this. Now, it could be a possibility that nobody possibly helped them, but ultimately we know it's the inside. Somebody had to let somebody know something, or somebody been there for so goddamn long to the point where they know how stuff work and they're able to make certain things happen. But ultimately, man, this situation right here was bound to get wrapped up real quick because they all slow as hell. You got to be slow these days to be committing murders anyway, because they gonna catch your ass. You know what I'm saying? It's very rare that people are getting away with this. But let's get back into it though.
It's almost impossible, not completely, but almost impossible for anybody to get out of this facility without help from the outside.
That video, per WWL-TV, the sheriff, says it would take a lot to escape her jail. But what the inmates apparently wrote on the wall on their way out begs to differ. And now hundreds of members of law enforcement across multiple states are on the hunt for those still at large. We're on the case, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
Let's get it.
The local sheriff in New Orleans said that she would be investigating her staff to see if those inmates had any help in their escape from her jail. And it turns out that a maintenance worker is now under arrest, accused of helping turn the water off, which played a key role in allowing those 10 inmates to escape. Sterling Williams is 33 years old. He's a maintenance worker at the jail, and he allegedly turned off the water, which allowed the inmates to move the toilet in front of the hole that they carved into the wall. This is his mugshot per the Louisiana Attorney General. An inmate allegedly told Williams to turn the water off, and the Attorney General says instead of reporting that inmate, he turned the water off, allowing the 10 to carry out their plan. Williams is now booked on 10 counts of principled simple escape and 1 count of malfeasance in office. Jail records show he is not being held at the facility where he once worked, but is now being held in a separate parish. Here are those inmates, and at the time of this recording, you can see several of the 10 are still on the run, and there are major questions about what kind of help these inmates may have received to pull off this jailbreak, and there's also questions about who may be helping them on the outside. I want you to look at this picture. This is of Robert Moody, one of the first inmates to be arrested after the jailbreak, and you can see when he was arrested, he wasn't in prison garb anymore. He found street clothes. Moody only made it, though, about 7 miles from the jail. Moody was in jail on weapons and drug charges. Another inmate that was taken back into custody, also wearing full street clothes, ready to blend in with everybody else, was Kendall Miles. This is a screen grab from video posted by the group Project NOLA, which run cameras throughout the city and uses facial recognition technology in hopes of cutting down on crime. This is Kendall Miles walking through New Orleans' French Quarter. That is right in the heart of the tourist district of the city. Here's Miles being taken back into custody by Louisiana State Police. They say that Miles tried to run when they spotted him. The French Quarter, again, only a short distance from jail, so no one really has made it, it seems, that far from the jail when they were arrested. According to WDSU-TV, Miles is facing charges of attempted murder and carjacking for allegedly shooting a victim twice and taking his car. Another inmate captured is DeKeenan Dennis. He was arrested in the same area of New Orleans as Robert Moody, just about 7 miles from the jail, and Dennis is accused of armed robbery and illegal possession of weapons. Then there's Gary Price. He's accused of attempted murder as well. He was captured in East New Orleans. He was found in a vacant home. KVUE got this surveillance image from a home. They posted it on Instagram. This is from across the street. You can see in the top left corner of your screen, law enforcement taking Price back into custody. None of the inmates who at this point have been captured made it that far from the jail they escaped from. But a big problem for law enforcement is just how long of a head start they had because of how long it took the sheriff and her deputies to realize that 10 inmates were gone from their jail. This is video from the Orleans Parish Sheriff posted on social media showing inmates around midnight on May 16th. And you can see the inmates yanking on a jail door to break it open, and also some inmates walk by, some act like they don't see anything, others eventually come over and help that inmate in orange break it open. And it only took less than a minute and a half from the beginning of that inmate yanking that door to it eventually breaking open and then the inmates being able to get in through that cell door. Obviously, when you're watching this, you might be asking yourself as well, where are the guards? And is anyone watching this video? I'll get to that in just a moment. But as this video continues on, as soon as the door breaks open, the inmates pile into one of the cells and then out they go, through the back, as you see in the video here. The next piece of video may be hard to see here as well, but we'll zoom in on it. We'll show you. You can see some of the inmates running across a highway as they make their way away from the jail. Now, as to why it didn't seem like there were any guards that were watching any of this play out, what looked like in plain sight in the video when you watch it, well, the sheriff says the person who was responsible for watching the overnight feed of video stepped out to grab a bite to eat at the time that those inmates started their escape. It wasn't until 8:30 the next morning that authorities realized that 10 inmates were gone. Remember, what we just showed you of that escape, that was around midnight the night before. Now, this is what the authorities found in the jail cell. That toilet pulled back, pushed aside, leaving a big hole for the inmates to get out. And also, as you probably have seen by now, the inmates left some parting words for the sheriff and the deputies and the guards and everybody who ran that jail facility, like, quote, "Too easy, LOL," and also a smiley face with its tongue out and some more colorful language that
Just
we can't show you on air here. Now, it wasn't until later that day that the local sheriff posted this on her X account, letting the public know about the jailbreak. The hours it took for authorities to let the public know that violent offenders were on the run, that has created a lot of anger in New Orleans, and a lot of people are criticizing the sheriff. The sheriff also said that they're investigating their own staff to see if these inmates got any help from the inside. The sheriff's also blaming defective locks for the break. Here's part of what she said in this video per Fox News.
We're still gathering information. We are investigating our own to find out exactly what happened and where those lapses were. But there were supervisors on duty. There were lower level folks on duty, and they all had a job to do.
The authorities also say the inmates used blankets to get over the barbed wire on the outside fencing. Of the inmates that are left, 4 of them are charged with second-degree murder. Corey Boyd, Lenton Van Buren, Jermaine Donald, and Derek Groves. Groves killed 2 people on Mardi Gras in 2018. He also shot 2 others. He was convicted of that crime last year, and he was awaiting sentencing, which is why he was at the jail and not in a state DOC facility. WWL-TV reports that the families of his victims, they've gone into hiding, and they also say the authorities never contacted them about him escaping. Lenton Van Buren is another one of the murder suspects at large. He was arrested in 2021 for a murder. He's pleaded not guilty. Jermaine Donald is accused of second-degree murder, and Corey Boyd is charged with second-degree murder for allegedly shooting a man who tried to stop a car burglary, according to NOLA.com, in 2024. Not only are murder victims' families going into hiding, but also the local district attorney in New Orleans told local media that he has staff members leaving town with their families because some of the people who escaped are people who they prosecuted. There is plenty of blame likely to go around for how this could happen. But specifically, who should be blamed for this depends on who you ask in New Orleans right now. The sheriff is taking a lot of heat. There are calls for her to resign. She, though, says this jail has had problems that go beyond her job. She says the jail is only 60% of the staff that it needs. She also believes that the inmates may have had help from the inside. As far as why it, though, took so many hours for her agency to let the public know that these violent offenders were free, she claims they needed time to figure out what happened once they realized the inmates were gone, which again was several hours after the jailbreak. Louisiana's governor is putting a lot of the blame on those who are in charge of the jail, and that includes the sheriff. Here's part of what he said per Fox.
I've also ordered the Department of Corrections to audit the Orleans Parish Correctional Facility for compliance with basic jail guidelines.
Nowadays, after the inmates became fugitives, the reward is rising for people to come forward with information on the whereabouts of the remaining fugitives. Right now, the FBI is offering a $10,000 reward, and the ATF and Crime Stoppers are also offering rewards of $5,000. Another issue, according to the governor, is that several of the inmates were set to be transferred to a state prison to serve sentencing, but they were still being held in the jail facility, which is meant to be temporary. The governor said all DOC inmates at that facility are now being moved out. As for the fugitives who have been caught thus far, they are being taken to facilities away from New Orleans. The state police posted these pictures of Gary Price being taken to what they said was a, quote, secure state facility. Joining us now to talk about this is Justin Paperny, prison consultant thank you for taking the time to be with us here on Law and Crime. I guess since this story started, just what has shocked you the most when you see, especially that video of all of the inmates running out the back of the prison, or the jail, excuse me?
What shocks me is the terrible infrastructure within these prisons, and everyone knows that these things could happen. People talk about them, but there's no correction or change. Then, what does not surprise me is the continuous blaming. You have the sheriff blaming somebody else, the governor blames somebody else. Without accountability and change, these things are going to continue to happen. These prisons and jails, they're broke down, the infrastructure is terrible. There are protocols that are not followed, and you have prisoners who will study the routines of guards, what time they go to work, how engaged are they, what time do they open the doors, and without proper protocols, you have people convicted of violent crimes able to escape. Until there's accountability and change at the top, we can expect more of these escapes threatening communities across the country.
Yeah, because the headline video out of the gate was people running out the back of the prison, and that was kind of, but to me, watching the first inmate yank on a door, and it took him about 1:30 to break it open, and then they're all able to go into that cell, which is apparently where the hole was, and then get out. And I'm watching it, on one hand, how flimsy of a door that was, just to be in jail. But then, where are the guards? What do you make of some of the staffing?
Yeah, it's not the door. The door is the obvious blame, but the door could have been fixed a long time ago. What has not been fixed is this culture. So what happens is you have inside knowledge. So 16 years ago today, I was released from prison in a minimum security camp. Even in camps, dudes can walk off. They're not going to stop you. The difference is those are minimum security defendants. And for nonviolent crimes, in this case, these are by red murder, aggravated assault, very serious crimes. So what happened is there's inside knowledge. They're communicating together. They know the behavior and routines of staff. They wait for one mistake, one moment of laziness or nonchalantness or total disregard for their job, where they're going to seize this opportunity to escape, knowing they're going to have several hours. So they're studying for weeks and months, and then they seize that opportunity. And to have several hours go by without anybody knowing, if that doesn't tell you there was a terrible breakdown in protocols and structure and strategy, then we need to have another conversation. It was the inside knowledge that allowed this to happen.
What surprised me too is that, these are some inmates that are, in one case, one of them is convicted of a double murder, but others are accused of murder, attempted murder. These are seriously violent people. And they're being held at a jail. Why not be held at a state facility?
Myriad reasons, right? They could be waiting to get transferred there. The jails could have convinced themselves they're able to secure them. Oftentimes people get misclassified. Sometimes people go to the wrong prison. Mistakes are made when protocols aren't followed. So you can expect all of these agencies to say the same thing. We saw the same thing in MDC in New York with Diddy and Sam Bankman-Fried after Epstein hung himself. There's going to be changes. There's going to be accountability. We're going to make new policy. Instead, it is blaming and excusing. It's nobody's fault. And as a result of that, someone convicted of murder and other crimes, they're out in the community now hoping and wishing that through lockdowns, reconstructing timelines, hopefully they get tips from the community that they're going to find these people. The problem is the longer these people are away from prison and not caught, the more violent and scary they actually become, because they're truly in need of resources. So it is a tone at the top issue, whether it's a federal, state, or local prison. And until these changes, we'll be on in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months talking about an escape in these broken down, dilapidated prisons and jails, and the blaming and excusing will continue.
Yeah, I want to get into some of the blaming and who's to blame for that, because we've heard, the sheriff, and maybe reasons it happened, but then you kind of hear these excuses, especially when you think of how long it took them to actually realize that 10 inmates and some very violent people were missing. Another part is, and I know it's cliche in these conversations to bring up Shawshank Redemption, so forgive me, but you think of someone carving a hole in a wall in a jail, and it's done very quietly, very secretly. How do you think they were able to do this? How difficult would it be to actually create the type of hole that they did behind the toilet to then escape out the back?
So it's not hard if they know they have 2 to 3 hours a day to dig this hole. It's not hard if they know the exact routine and vulnerabilities
I was just saying some
of
shit like
prison
that.
staff. It's not hard if they know that the prisoner jail is understaffed. It's hard to get people to work there. People for under.
That's basically what I was saying a while ago. Like, somebody had to be there for a long time to kind of know how everything works. But ultimately, I just feel like that it was bound to happen at some point in time, because a lot of these jails, if you just pay attention to everything, it ain't tight knit like it used to be. You feel me? People have all type of different devices, all type of different phones and weed and I mean anything that you can think of. You know what I'm saying? I say somebody with a damn dog inside of the jail, cause my bad, man. I see somebody with a damn dog in the jail, and I know somebody probably gonna think I'm lying. That's one thing I won't ever do. You can go look this up for your damn self. Cuz had a pit up in there, man, real talk. But okay, this is about to end pretty soon, and then I have the press conference coming up. I ain't got too much more to say about this, bro. Just be careful if you out there. There's one more of them fuckers out there on the loose, and I want to know y'all thoughts and opinions on this, and we're gonna talk about it in the comment section. And I'll holler at y'all later on another video, but I'm definitely gonna be in the comment section talking to y'all. All right.
For underappreciated, underpaid, which can compel a staff member to go to a training to understand protocols, but they do not implement them. So in prison, I know because I was there, even though it was in a camp, you can study and learn the mannerisms of staff, guards, other prisoners, and you can create a routine around it. So it probably didn't take them, there was probably one leader that said, hey, there could be an opportunity here. Would you like to get involved? Sure, you're in for double murder. This is your only opportunity to see freedom again. Let's work together over the coming weeks and months until we get transferred to a higher security prison and take our opportunity. Then they team up, they partner, they study, they assess, and they chip away at it every single day. No different than Andy Dufresne did in Shawshank Redemption. And then it's like, we're ready. Let's party. Let's seize our opportunity. And they knew they had a window, and they're still free. They're doubling the reward from $5,000 to $10,000. Problems follow. They continue to be free. It is a total disaster and nightmare. And here's what I'm expecting at some point: someone to say, it's my fault. This will never happen again. Until then, they're never going to fix the infrastructure. Staff is going to be undertrained. They're not going to follow protocol. And I pray and hope someone in the community isn't hurt as a result of this failed leadership at this jail.
Is it uncommon, because going back to the inmate who was yanking on the door, I mean, is it uncommon in that area for there not to be a guard? I know it was after lockdown at 10:30, but the lights were still on, and there didn't seem to be any authority figure whatsoever in the space where all these inmates were being kept.
It is not uncommon, right? Even in a penitentiary, people are going to go to bed, the lights are going to shut off, the cells are going to close. They knew exactly how much time they had to a T to make this hole in the wall. They knew when a guard would be walking by to do what's called a standing count. They knew exactly what was going to happen because they're studying the routines, the vulnerabilities, the tendencies of staff. So I can tell you down to a second, they knew how much time they had, and they were very calculated. And unfortunately for people in this community, they were successful.
And you kind of go into the sheriff. She's talked about, there was defective locks that were part of the problem, the staffing issues that, financially it would take millions of dollars to fix the doors. Why? And for as expensive as it is, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't a headline issue like this jail in New Orleans up until these inmates were leaving. If it was such a big problem, why wasn't it something that the sheriff would have talked about maybe in a campaign or had made a key issue in local politics for New Orleans, knowing that they were holding some very violent people there?
So when the lock is the visible issue, that's what people are going to blame. The invisible issue is this culture and the blaming. So of course, if she claims that she brought attention to this lock, if she even did, you're going to have the prison say, we're broke. We have no money for infrastructure. We don't have money for staff. And of course, you'll have prison or unions who want to hire more staff, more security. So again, you're going to continue to hear this. It was a broken lock. I brought attention to it. It's just the obvious issue. The real problem is staff isn't trained, protocols aren't followed, and you continue to have people blame. It's interesting. You talk about the millions of dollars that it would cost to fix these prisons and jails. everyone appears to be concerned about public safety. What is the cost if one of these prisoners, and they've only caught one as I understand it, what is the cost if one of these prisoners hurts or kills someone? I can assure you it's worth more than millions of dollars plus the lawsuits to come. So it's sort of like penny wise, pound foolish, and then they're reactive. This will continue to happen. They're not fixing up jails. They're not properly training staff. They're not properly setting tone at the top. And in the end, I hope people in the community bring them forward. I have no doubt they have enablers who are absolutely helping them. So they're checking with I would say the Department of Justice or the marshals. They're checking with friends, family, old associates, gang affiliations. I mean, it is a absolute nightmare, and I hope people do the right thing and turn them in.
Yeah. And I also think too, with the kind of the millions of dollars argument, do you find like in your work, when you see some of the facilities that are vulnerable because maybe they haven't been upgraded in a long time, that the public just doesn't have an appetite to spend the money on a corrections facility?
That may be the best question I've been asked in 2025. The answer is yes. I mean, you look at spending cuts across the country right now with Doge and others, spending cuts, cutting vital programs for people who are not in prison, which then means they're cutting vital programs for people in prison. There's very little sympathy for people in prison. People will say if you were so concerned about infrastructure or your health or the type of prison environment you were going to live in, you probably shouldn't have broken the law. So yes, there's only so much money we have, and the last thing they're going to do is allocate it to a prison and jail. If they had money, they'd want to hire more staffing and perhaps do better training, including some mental health training, not just for prisoners, but also for staff. And until these issues are resolved and fixed, it's just going to be a continued problem of blaming. And it's unfortunate. They don't recognize that spending some money now would lead to what they truly care about: security, control, and higher public safety, because it would ensure people can't escape. Now, in the federal prison system, they'll just close the prison. I served time in a prison in the BOP, Bureau of Prisons. I think deduced it would be $30 or $40 million to fix it. They're like, no good, we're going to close it. We're going to move these prisoners to another prison. That's fine. They should be closing them if they're not in a position to fix them. Don't house them there, because you have smart prisoners with criminal minds who can escape with lazy staff who turns the other way because they're not trained.
Do you also find, as far as like the appetite from the public, I would also think for a lot of the agencies that run a county jail, that it's a sheriff's office that's in charge of it, and they have a lot on their plate when it comes to law enforcement on the outside. Do you see the appetite also from a lot of these sheriffs to say like, okay, the jail, that's not something the public really comes in touch with? I would imagine that they're not going to spend the money on the jail either, that you don't see the appetite from the sheriff to take action.
If they didn't have money to fix a lock or hole, if they couldn't call a handyman to fix this, imagine their appetite for spending tens of millions of dollars to fix up a broken jail, right? Or prison, and then properly trained staff. No, it's easy to be reactive, to blame, claim things are going to get better. In time, unfortunately, we will forget about it until it pops up again, and we're going to be discussing it again. And the same people in a different state with the same DNA and makeup and career are going to say the same thing. It's just the way it is. People have asked me that. Could they have fixed it up? They could have fixed the hole. How much would that have cost? Had zero interest other than blaming. And I pray they are caught, because I'm telling you, the longer we've covered it, the longer they are free, the scarier they become, the fewer resources they have. And it could compel people with a criminal mind who have already killed to do it again, because they've tasted freedom, they like it, they want it, and they will do anything to keep it.
Yeah, Derek Groves, I believe, is the one who's been already convicted of a double murder, and Mardi Gras was awaiting sentencing, and he is out, and the families of his victims have gone into hiding, knowing that he is free right now. Lastly, for the people who have been caught at the time of this recording, there are 4 out of the 10 who are back in custody. What is the reality for them when they return to, they've been taken to what the state police call a secure state facility? What is that? What is life going to look like for them now compared to how they had it before?
Well, they're going to be admired or lionized by a lot of prisoners who said, I can't believe you escaped. Good for you. It's going to impress a lot of people. The prison or jail, they don't want to be embarrassed again. So there is going to be continuous lockdown, isolated, total segregation. They're not going to be going anywhere. And when sentenced, they're going to go to the highest security prison possible. Even in transit, which occasionally is where some escapes can happen when you're in shackles and chains, they will be looked at and treated differently because of this escape. So there's always going to be a mark on their back because of that, which eventually will lead, and I hope this brings people in the community some happiness, they will always be more isolated. There will be more scrutiny on them because of this escape. Even in a minimum security camp, you escape, they catch you, you're going to a higher security prison, you are fenced in. There will always be more scrutiny on them because of it. And of course, it will impact their eventual release or eligibility to go home based on this conduct. They will all be in prison longer because of it.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my last question, because there are certainly the ones who are convicted of accused of attempted murder, accused of murder, convicted of murder, but then there's also some drugs and guns offenses on here, and I don't know what their priors looked like, but there were people who they weren't going to spend the rest of their life in prison. How many more years could someone facing a drug and weapons charge, still very, very serious charges, but now they're looking at a longer sentence?
Right, you have the crime of escaping, and then you have potential crimes that have existed in the community: stealing, taking advantage of people, or robbing cars. You continue to pile onto the crimes. So then when you get sentenced, and we could argue drug sentencing in this country, both federal and state, has become more sympathetic. War on drugs has passed. Marijuana is legal in many states, including California. So something that could have been maybe 2, 3, or 4 years with good conduct, eligibility for an early release. Now they have new charges in a higher security prison. Perhaps, look, when you're presented with an opportunity in prison, and I presume they were presented with an opportunity that said, hey, you can do 5 years, or we have some inside knowledge that tells us we're going to have at least 4 hours before they find out we've left. It's worth it, man. Roll the dice. Let's try. And they seize the opportunity, and there are going to be consequences. But you're absolutely right. Something that could be 2, 3, 4 years can now be 10 years in prison, in a higher security prison.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. I mean, there's so many agencies across now multiple states in the South looking for
the news coverage out here, and it is being made into a political issue. Political people are making this a political issue. I want to be really clear. This is a public safety issue, and we all need to continue to work together to solve it, to get these folks back in custody. And we are doing that. All of our energy at OPSO is going towards getting these folks back into custody and finding out exactly what happened. It's a fluid situation. When we're aiming to respond to all media inquiries as quickly as we can possibly do that, but I still have to investigate it, and the integrity of the investigation has to stand. We do acknowledge there is no way people can get out of this facility without there being some type of lapse in security. There's no way. It's almost impossible, not completely, but almost impossible for anybody to get out of this facility without help from the outside. We intend to find out exactly what happened. We know that, I want to say that we know that folks are normally locked down in this facility at 10:30 p.m., but these folks that were able to get out did so because of defective locks on the cells. I have talked about those locks since I got into office. I wrote a letter to the consent decree judge, to the city council, and everybody else who would listen. And every time I go to budget, I say the exact same thing. When you all covered our millage, I said the exact same thing. There are deficiencies in these facilities that cause public safety concerns. That's why the millage was so important. We'll get into that a little bit more as we move forward. I need to confirm that Kendall Miles is in custody. He is being rebooked for simple escape as well. OPSO deputies found him hiding beneath the car at the Hotel Monteleone parking garage, and he was transported to OJC by the Louisiana State Police. We also need to acknowledge that Keith Lewis, who was previously reported as an escaped detainee, was in a different cell. So he had been moved, but it had not been updated. So he is not on the run. There were 10, not 11, and he is in our facility and did not try to escape. The remaining individuals are being actively pursued, and our deputies, in collaboration with local and state law enforcement, are working tirelessly to locate and return them to custody. Now we're going to try and go through a little bit of the timeline of events, because what's being reported out there isn't accurate. What we noticed is that the detainees began yanking on a cell to pull it off track. These are the cells that we keep telling that we need to replace at great cost in this facility. They were able to break, that was around 12:23 a.m. They were able to break open a door. There was a corrections monitoring technician in the pod module to be watching that. They were still able to exit the jail about 1:01 a.m. after breaching a wall behind a toilet in the jail. And based on video surveillance, they were seen exiting a door on the docks where we normally bring in supplies, scaling a wall, and running across the interstate shortly thereafter. We have indication that these detainees received assistance in their escape from individuals inside of our department, and the escape was discovered during a routine head count at 8:30 a.m. this morning. The deputy who was on duty promptly notified jail leadership, and around probably before 9:30, we notified the United States Marshals Task Force, which includes all of our partners in the area, and that was before 9:30, about the incident. I found out myself about 9 o'clock and was on my way to the jail and moving through it. About that time, the exact time I can't give you, but it was before 9:30. I asked our personnel, have we notified NOPD? Have we notified our partners? I was told yes, the task force was notified. And then we were also able to discern that the NOPD was also notified through the Fusion Center. Now, when this went down, our first concern is to find out who these folks are, confirm, and then we've got to lock down the whole jail and find out, make sure nobody else is missing. That's the first thing we have to do. We also have people being moved out to court. We've got to confirm who those are. So this is a fluid situation as we're trying to get a handle on 1,400 people in this facility. So it was a fluid situation. We're still gathering information. We are investigating our own to find out exactly what happened and where those lapses were. But there were supervisors on duty. There were lower level folks on duty, and they all had a job to do. And we're going to find out exactly what happened. I'm going to now turn this over to Chief Jay Mallett, our Chief of Corrections, to talk a little bit more about the cell itself.
Good evening. We do know that there are several security breaches. We're investigating, but the primary security breach and concern is the facility's infrastructure. We've identified that we have a large number of high security individuals in a minimum custody facility. This particular breach of security occurred on the first floor of one of our security pods where we had slider doors. These doors are able to be manipulated by forced off the track that they're on, which allows individuals to enter and exit at will. We do know that some toiletries in a handicap cell was used to be removed. Some of the bolts, some of the toilets, some of the infrastructure, some of the fixtures were removed. We know that this could not be removed from the inside, so we are investigating that to see exactly who entered these areas, what kind of work was done, if there was work being done, and if this is an inside job. We remain fully committed to locating the escapees. We're working with local and federal and state partners. We continue to ask the public for their vigilance. And if anyone has any information about the whereabouts of these individuals, please reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, this incident has once again highlighted the critical need for repairs and upgrades to our facilities, particularly to ensure that doors and locks are fully functional. We currently have 24 pods, and our staff is stretched thin. We are only at about 60% staffing. We still need 150 deputies in this jail and another 50 for the new jail about to open. So we're actively, and I have been actively advocating since I got into office for more money to fix these broken parts of the jail that make it unsecure. And just this week, we went to a capital budget hearing to lobby for more improvements to address just these issues, which would help improve security and safety for both the detainees and our deputies.
All right, we'll take questions.
Sheriff, how many people did you have on staff for this overnight shift that would have not reported this between 1 a.m. and 8:30 a.m.? And wouldn't they have to have known about it if there were plumbing items removed and they were able to get out and there was no notice until 8:30?
Sure. I'm going to turn that over to Chief Mallard.
Good question. We actually had 4 supervisors and 36 staff here. That's a pretty, low ratio, but that's what we had on that particular part. We had a monitoring individual that was actually on site where we believe that the exit occurred was behind the cell wall. The staff that was available at that particular time of day, without going into too many security restrictions, wouldn't know that was going on behind the scene. That's more so a physical plant infrastructure deal that we do more routine daily type inspections of to make sure that these things are right.
Wouldn't they need power tools or something?
And that's something that we're investigating, because you're absolutely right. It was more than just a breach of security. It was some type of help, and we've been researching, we've been investigating, and it would definitely be some type of tool used other than just the strength of a sheer individual.
Shay, and you mentioned a technician earlier. Why didn't that person alert staffers earlier? I know you said somebody was also in the pod at the time and that they were still able to get out. If you could kind of run through.
We're still running through the timeline to narrow that down. That is part of the job, the duty and responsibility. That's in everyone's post order. So we're still trying to narrow that down, and as we get information, we'll be sharing.
And then also, have the family members of these escapees been notified? Do they know? If you could kind of talk a little bit about what they're saying?
Yeah, some of them have reached out to us to try and help. So we're very grateful for that. We obviously don't want to identify what's going on there, but we're definitely getting some help on trying to locate them.
Sheriff, you said that people are politicizing the escape here at the jail, but we talked with Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick early this morning. She also made it very clear that her department, we talked to the U.S. Marshals, we talked to Louisiana State Police, none of them say they were notified before 10:30 a.m. And then once again, y'all said that y'all discovered this at 8:30. Why wasn't the public and partners, local, state, federal, made aware of this sooner?
So I verified, so we have people on the U.S. Marshals Task Force. That's who we notified to make sure the whole task force is ready to roll. And they've been ready to roll since then. So I'm not sure how those up at the top found out, but I know that we notified the task force earlier because our members sit on it. And they came also up here to check on it. So we know that happened. What was your first part of your question? Chief Kirkpatrick has been nothing but a help to us, and we're very appreciative of both the state police and the New Orleans Police Department.
But once again, you all said that y'all made the discovery around 8:30 this morning. The escape happened early hours overnight. Yeah. And once again, public was not notified until 10:30 when y'all's press release came out.
So I found out about 9.
So why wasn't the public known?
We have to find out is what happened. So you got to go inside the facility to be able to see. They could have been anywhere. We have to make sure that's exactly what happened. We have to pull all the video and find out what happened. That takes a little bit of time. Then we had to first prioritize talking to victims to make sure they were safe and making sure law enforcement could respond to them if they needed something.
I know Superintendent Kirkpatrick.
My bad. You said that they yanked on the cell and they were able to get out and they ran across the interstate. But how were they able to get out of the jail property? And also, have you lost trust in your deputies? Because you believe this is an inside job.
Some of them. We have really hard-working deputies, but we're not going to tar and feather everybody with the same brush. We're going to find out exactly what happened, who's responsible, hold them accountable both administratively and criminally.
And how did they get off the jail property? That was my
Get off the jail property. They went out a loading bay door where we bring in supplies, and then they got over a wall. I'm not sure if they used the Chief Mallard can tell you more about how they actually got up there.
What we saw was they left went through an exit door that's in between the actual cell block and the pipe chases. And you know, this is a large facility, so the pipe chase, the exit door, for some reason or another, was designed to lead directly outside. The individuals left out the door, went down the stairs, went to the perimeter wall and scaled the wall. We did some looking today and realized that it's some razor wire that we need to put up, some issues, but they scaled the wall, jumped down, and then you have a clear path to the railroad track and or the interstate.
Sheriff Hudson, will you be releasing a surveillance video that shows the escape?
I think we're going to, right now we're part of the investigation going on, but I think eventually, yeah, we'll be able to release that. We just have to make sure it doesn't give out any security risks for us, for the rest of the folks here still in custody.
Sheriff, do you believe that you need to revise your policies?
Go ahead. Thank you. CBS News, I'm Katie Weiss. Pleasure. I wanted to ask you a little bit. I can't help but notice all the construction that's going on in your backyard. Does that have anything to do with this? We just saw a police escort bringing in a bunch of concrete. What's going on?
I don't believe it does. That's the new mental health jail, and there's a deputy on duty right there for the gates being open to bring in trucks or whatever needs to come in.
And you said you've been asking for money for a long time. How much money do you need at this point?
The locks alone, I believe, are
5.2 million.
Yeah,
just for the locks.
Just the locks. I mean, 5.2 million.
9 people are still on the loose, just to clarify. So it's 9 people, 10 escapes.
9 people are still.
Sheriff, do you feel like you need to revise your policies on notification to the public as well as other law enforcement?
To answer that question, Sheriff, thank you for your
Sheriff didn't really answer that question. If we could.
I'll tell you this, we're going to debrief on everything that went right and went wrong, and we will move accordingly to make sure that for every incident that occurs that we do the best that we can. We'll look at it.
What about getting the photos out, though? I mean, to get the public aware of who is out there, there was another delay before that was released to the media so we could put it out to everybody.
We have to confirm who it is and pull their information. That's what the delay is.
And there was also a delay with getting the photos to other law enforcement. NOPD also said that as well.
I've answered the question.
Yeah, we'll have another
I've answered the
briefing
question.
at about 5:30. So if you have any more questions, you can call me directly. Y'all have my email, so you can call or email me directly. And if you have any more off-topic questions, I can ask you.